All right, so I have a scenario question for you.
Okay.
So, if I'm recently divorced, my husband handled the finances. Now I'm on my own. Where do I start?
Okay. Well, we start with the personal economic model, right? So, and the way we approach it at Queensbridge is we don't even know what you need until we talk to you. And it starts with what we call our 15-minute consultation or 15-minute conversation, really, not a consultation. And it's free. And we just see if we can help you. And as James said, we try to find money that you're losing unknowingly and unnecessarily. And there's a lot of places that we can find money to put aside. And we try not to affect lifestyle. So for the divorced person, what do? You need like I guess, a starting point. So a GPS, where are you today? Where do you want to be? And then how do we get there? How do we get there? I don't know, but there's a few tips. One is what we call the 1% rule. James, can you call that up if you have it available? And the 1% rule is a real simple way to pay yourself first and get an instant return on your money. So when we call it up, we'll run through a scenario where, in this case, the annual income is 50,000. If we can change annual savings to 5,000, James, yeah, to 5,000 there. And then rate of return, ROR, is just rate of return on your savings. And there's a disclosure. So let's do a calculation, James. So what ends up happening here is you got 50,000, you're saving 5,000 off the top, which leaves you at 45,000 net afterwards. And your interest on the savings on the 5,000 is this $250. Now, when James hits continue here, if you reduce your annual expenses by 1%, so in other words, that 45,000, we take 1% off of that, which is only 450 bucks, it turns into, what is it, James? A 9% return on your investment right out of the gate. So right there, you've paid yourself. The more you can save out of those annual expenses, the more money left in your jeans down the road. So this is kind of a pay yourself first. This is something that we go through with clients, but again, starts with the economic model. And we don't know what you need until we talk to you. And we'll fill that in at the end of the day once we figure it out.
Yeah, that's crazy. You definitely find things like where I wouldn't even know where I'm losing money.
Well, yeah. So there are basically 5 major areas where people are losing money. We've identified them as your mortgage, number one. And people think, well, how am I losing money on my mortgage? It's not really losing money. It's how you're paying for it. People love doing accelerated payments, accelerated pay downs, everything else. But then your money's tied up in brick. And when your money's tied up in brick, when you want to get money out of it, you have to go to the bank. And you can't bring a brick to the bank. They say, okay, great, you have this house paid off. What's your cash flow? They lend on cash flow, not on the property value. So you could have $1 million house. If you have no cash coming in, you're what they call that asset rich, cash poor, because you can't get at that money. That's where that term comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the areas is mortgages. So we look at that. Second area is what we call the qualified plans, so RSPs, pensions, and so forth. You want to take advantage of those plans, but sometimes people are just piling in, not realizing that they have that tax postponement, if you recall that yellow and red line in that tank. So those are the 2 major areas. The third area is taxes. You don't want to pay more than your fair share. So again, there are strategies to try to reduce taxes. So turning a couple of dials. For people that are straight employees, it's a little bit harder, but there's still ways to do that. Then you're looking at education spending. So how are you going to pay for your kids' education? The RESPs are a great start, but that's not going to cover the full bill. You need another strategy to that. And then finally, what we call major capital purchases. And a major capital purchase is anything that you cannot buy from monthly cash flow. So in other words, can you buy a car for cash? Maybe. Do you want to pay cash? Probably not. There's better ways to do this. Preserve your capital and keep it. So we've identified those 5 areas.
Oh my God, there's so many.
There are. So, I mean, I know we're throwing a lot out here today, but it's just we're kind of just scratching the surface. And when we engage with people, once we agree that, hey, we can help you out and we want to work together, we take our time and go through this. We have like a 10-step process, and we actually take it to the point where we have kind of a behavioral profile that we do with individuals and couples, because everybody learns differently. I mean, I like numbers. I know people that like pictures, right? Like people really gravitate to the images. So we figure out what kind of, communicator are you, how you make decisions. Are you, do you kind of procrastinate? Do you need more data, that kind of thing? So actually I don't want to call it a psych profile, but we get an idea of how you behave, and then we know how to interact with you. And I know that nobody is doing this in
That's
Canada.
actually so cool, because then we get it more on like a connection too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I ran the profile myself, and Tony did the same thing. I think you did it as well, Pam. And when I looked at the results, I was just like, wow, it's actually kind of scary,
It is scary.
and the company doing that profiling for us, or the behavioral profile, they're great, and it's pretty close once you're done.